I just said at the beginning that it's a question from someone who lived through a particularly brutal war in Vietnam.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Jones. And yeah, I am a veteran of the Vietnam War. I think the Australian public now is well aware that Australian military history is not written by the men and women who actually fight the battles. Rather, it's put to us or presented to the public by our historians and our armchair generals in a manner to make it more palatable, and also to maintain the ethos of Anzac, as well as the image of the bronzed Aussie digger. Now, the Australian War Memorial routinely sanitises the records of the war and removes and destroys anything that is embarrassing or potentially embarrassing to the Australian government, past or present, and or the military. So my question is this: as a man who fought in that war and who was sorely affected by it, how much faith can the Australian public have in our military history when it is so regularly sanitised and corrupted?
Well, let's start with the historian. I'm just going to quickly back to Don. I know a little bit of your backstory, so I've got the advantage on the panel. Just briefly tell us why it is you don't trust historians, particularly in the War Memorial.
Well, first of all, I was wounded in 1969 and hospitalised for more than 2 years. But my name did not appear on the records of the 9th Battalion in which I was wounded for the best part of 28 years. And another unit that I fought in, called the 2nd D&E Platoon, was erased from all records of the Vietnam War for 38 years and was only formally put back into the record books by the Labor government in 2008 by by the Honourable Mike Kelly. And so that has affected me very badly, because people have said, well, you're a liar, you did not fight in the Vietnam War, you didn't fight in the 9th Battalion because your name's missing from the records, or you're a fraud because this platoon doesn't exist. And even today, the Australian War Memorial refuses to accept that this platoon did exist. And in fact, recently, I sought 235 documents from the Australian War Memorial that I know exist, and I took them to the Minister of Appeals Tribunal, and the Australian War Memorial enlisted the Australian government solicitor to defend its decision not to release these documents. So they will always be remaining never to be released to the Australian public.
Don, let's hear from Arthur Sinodinos, and I should add that something that Don actually sent us a letter, so he did get an unqualified apology in writing from Major General McLaughlin just this month, who's the head of strategic planning in the Army. So the big question here really is, are elements of the wars we fight in sanitised?
Well, that's a big question. I hadn't heard about this particular alleged sanitisation, Don, until you raised it. And I'm happy to follow it up with you and with Brendan Nelson at the War Memorial and find out what's really going on.